how to take floorboards up and how to legally, correctly notch your joists to meet British standards. For this next video, you're going to need common sense, a bolster chisel, a hammer, a wrecking bar for lifting the wood up, a circular saw, only if you've got confidence to use one, or you can do the whole lot with one of these. A multi-tool. These are brilliant, my best tool. So let's have a recap. First things first, look where the nails are. Cut close to the nails so you know where to drill. Next, take out the groove. You've got to take out the groove. You can do that by using a bolster or one of these, a multi-saw. So here is the groove. Little sawing, remember, don't go too deep. And then go along the board end. Done the groove, cut where the nail is, done. Half on the joist, miss the nail, slide down. Here is an example of why you should accurately get your depth right. When using a circular saw, always measure the blade depth. Using a circular saw, make sure the area is flat and go in one direction. Slowly switch the machine off. Well, when you take floorboards up, number them. So when you put them back down, it's easy to put them back in the right order. Also, write on them, services. So in future, they know there's a pipe underneath here. In this instance, I took the floorboard up and I've not been able to catch a joist. Maybe there's been something in the way. So I've used this method. Screwed it down and I've put a piece of wood there to support it, and the wood can rest on top. Always be cautious about how far down you drill or saw. Let's be professional. Whenever you see pipes under floorboards, support them, label them, even insulate them. Make the system more efficient. Make the return temperature insulated. So when it goes back to the boiler, back to the cylinder, it's going to be more efficient and less energy will be required to reheat it. Whenever you're putting cables in, always leave 50mm clearance from the top and the bottom. So if you're nailing or securing a floorboard down, or if you're putting plasterboard up, you're not going to go through a cable or screw. You don't want any issues. Whenever you're drilling holes, 0.25 of the depth. A quarter of the depth of the joist you can drill through. Get the span of the joist. 0.25 is the clearance from the wall, and 0.4 is the maximum distance from the wall. So basically, if you think about it, if you're drilling holes and it's in the centre of the joist, 0.5, it could weaken the joist and it could bow. If you're drilling too close to the wall, again, it could bow. So between 0.4 and 0.25 from the wall, that's the dimensions you can go. Also, here we've got two holes. You have to have 3 diameters clearance between them both. That's to keep the joist nice and strong. Also, when you're working underneath floorboards, tidy things up. If the customer ever sees the work you've done and they see that you've clipped, labelled, insulated, it just looks better. While you're doing the work, take a photograph of them before and after. Whenever you put pipes in a joist, always notch at the centre of a floorboard. So when you take this floorboard up, you've still got a joist area to secure the floorboard down afterwards. So notch in the centre of the groove. And go down, you can walk on that and you can secure it. Also, when pipes pass through, always insulate. Here I've insulated it with some air felt lagging. And the reason why you insulate is so when thermal expansion kicks in, it silences it. It stops creaking. If you ever put the heating system on, you hear creaking, that's why. It's the pipes making a noise going through the floorboards. The maximum notching you're allowed is 1/8 of the depth of the joist. 1/8 of the depth of the joist. You can't notch within 0.7 from the wall. So if you consider just here, if that's the wall, 0.07, you can't notch in. Again, it could make the joist bow down, couldn't it? So 0.07, you can't notch. The maximum in the joist towards the room you can notch is 0.4 of the span. So again, it can't be centre because it will make it bow. Just to highlight, when you're soldering or working underneath the floor, your insurance says you must have a fire extinguisher on the van. But this is a form of insulation, it's air felt, very, very flammable. So whenever you're soldering underneath the floor, you're really looking at 300mm, 30 centimetres either side of non-combustible material. And the last soldering we should do is an hour before you leave site. Look at those smouldering bits. Whenever you're soldering near combustibles, you might need a work permit, and the last bit of soldering must be an hour before you leave site. So let's do an example. Here you have the brick wall, you have a joist, 20 centimetres in depth, 3 metres, 300 centimetres long. So we want to do some notching here. So, going for what we said, 20 centimetres depth, 1/8 down. So this dimension here is 2.5 centimetres. It's 1/8. You can't notch here for the first 21 centimetres. The maximum you can notch here is 120 centimetres. So again, there's your wall. You can't notch for the first 21 centimetres. You can't notch further away from the wall than 120 centimetres. The biggest notch you can do is 2.5 centimetres. So depth, 1/8, 0.4 of the span. From the wall, 0.07. First things first, 5 centimetres clearance of any holes in the top and bottom of the joist. This is to avoid nailing or screwing through cables or pipes. Next dimension is from the top. From the wall, 0.4. In this case, it's 120 centimetres. If it was the centre, it could weaken the joist. So because the holes you're drilling are bigger, you can't drill a hole in the joist within 75 centimetres. So drilling holes, let's recap. 5 centimetres from the top, 5 centimetres from the bottom. 0.4 of the span, so 300mm, so within the first 120 centimetres, you can drill. From the wall, 0.25, 75. So really, it's further from the wall, from notching, it's the same distance. So here and here. Remember, you have to have 3 diameters between them, clearance. That's to keep the strength of the joist. So, maximum from the wall, 0.4. Minimum from the wall is 0.25. Maximum notch, 0.25.